الرحمن الرحيم ووضع الكتاب فترى المجرمين مشفقين مما فيه ويقولون يا ويلتنا ما لهذا الكتاب لا يغادر صغيرة ولا كبيرة إلا أحصاها ووجدوا ما عملوا حاضرا ولا يظلم ربك أحدا. وإذ قلنا للملائكة اسجدوا لآدم فسجدوا إلا إبليس كان من الجن ففسق عن أمر ربه أفتتخذونه وذريته أولياء من دوني وهم لكم عدو بئس للظالمين بدلا. ما أشهدتهم خلق السماوات والأرض ولا خلق أنفسهم وما كنت متخذ المضلين عضدا. ويوم يقول نادوا شركائي الذين زعمتم فدعوهم فلم يستجيبوا لهم وجعلنا بينهم موبقا. ورأى المجرمون النار فظنوا أنهم مواقعوها ولم يجدوا عنها مصرفا. ولقد صرفنا في هذا القرآن للناس من كل مثل وكان الإنسان أكثر شيء جدلا. وما منع الناس أن يؤمنوا إذ جاءهم الهدى ويستغفروا ربهم إلا تأتيهم سنة الأولين أو يأتيهم العذاب قبلا. وما نرسل المرسلين إلا مبشرين ومنذرين ويجادل الذين كفروا بالباطل ليدحضوا به الحق واتخذوا آياتي وما أنذروا هزوا. ومن أظلم ممن ذكر بآيات ربه فأعرض عنها ونسي ما قدمت يداه إنا جعلنا على قلوبهم أكنة أن يفقهوه وفي آذانهم وقرا وإن تدعهم إلى الهدى فلن يهتدوا إذا أبدا. وربك الغفور ذو الرحمة لو يؤاخذهم بما كسبوا لعجل لهم العذاب بل لهم موعد لن يجدوا من دونه موئلا. وتلك القرى أهلكناهم لما ظلموا وجعلنا لمهلكهم موعدا. وإذ قال موسى لفتاه لا أبرح حتى أبلغ مجمع البحرين أو أمضي حقبا. فلما بلغا مجمع بينهما نسيا حوتهما فاتخذ سبيله في البحر سربا. فلما جاوزا قال لفتاه آتنا غداءنا لقد لقينا من سفرنا هذا نصبا قال أرأيت إذ أوينا إلى الصخرة فإني نسيت الحوت وما أنسانيه إلا الشيطان أن أذكره واتخذ سبيله في البحر عجبا قال ذلك ما كنا نبغي فارتدا على آثارهما قصصا فوجدا عبدا من عبادنا آتيناه رحمة من عندنا وعلمناه من لدنا علما قال له موسى هل أتبعك على أن تعلمني مما علمت رشدا قال إنك لن تستطيع معي صبرا وكيف تصبر على ما لم تحط به خبرا قال ستجدني إن شاء الله صابرا ولا أعصي لك أمرا قال فإن اتبعتني فلا تسألني عن شيء حتى أحدث لك منه ذكرا فانطلقا حتى إذا ركبا في السفينة خرقها قال أخرقتها لتغرق أهلها لقد جئت شيئا إمرا قال ألم أقل إنك لن تستطيع معي صبرا قال لا تؤاخذني بما نسيت ولا ترهقني من أمري عسرا فانطلقا حتى إذا لقيا غلاما فقتله قال أقتلت نفسا زكية بغير نفس قال أقتلت نفسا زكية بغير نفس لقد جئت شيئا نكرا قال ألم أقل لك إنك لن تستطيع معي صبرا قال إن سألتك عن شيء بعدها فلا تصاحبني قد بلغت من لدني عذرا فانطلقا حتى إذا أتيا أهل قرية استطعما أهلها فأبوا أن يضيفوهما فوجدا فيها جدارا يريد أن ينقض فأقامه قال لو شئت لاتخذت عليه أجرا قال هذا فراق بيني وبينك سأنبئك بتأويل ما لم تستطع عليه صبرا أما السفينة فكانت لمساكين يعملون في البحر فأردت أن أعيبها وكان وراءهم ملك يأخذ كل سفينة غصبا وأما الغلام فكان أبواه مؤمنين فخشينا أن يرهقهما طغيانا وكفرا
Okay, Alhamdulillah. I was just pondering, Alhamdulillah, for these verses and to be able to understand, right? And especially these ayahs where you have a story that is flowing. It's so beautiful to be able to listen and understand and follow along. Alhamdulillah. May Allah, may Allah increase us in our understanding. We can never enough be grateful to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Okay, Alhamdulillah. Before I go, your action point for lesson number 150 of Surah al-Kahf is due on Wednesday next week. Okay, inshallah, so we'll collect it on Wednesday. Make sure you have it completed. Barakallah fiik. Subhanakallahumma wa bihamdik. Nashhadu an la ilaha illa anta. Nastaghfiruka wa natubu ilayk. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
How's everyone today? Alhamdulillah. Okay. Let's try and fill the gaps. Can someone move up into the first row? Okay. Also the second row? Are there any gaps that you can fill? نحمده ونصلي على رسوله الكريم أما بعد فأعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي وربي زدني علما اللهم فقهنا في الدين اللهم إني أسألك علما نافعا وعملا متقبلا ورزقا طيبا اللهم انفعنا بما علمتنا وعلمنا ما ينفعنا وزدنا علما. Ameen. All right, before we move on to the next lesson, that is lesson number 153, let's go back to the previous lesson. Okay, lesson number 152, Surah al-Kahf, verses 45 to 59. And let's take a look at verse number 48 and verse number 49. Describing the day of judgment, Allah mentions, وَعُرِضُوا عَلَىٰ رَبِّكَ صَفًّا, and they will be presented before your Lord, meaning all the people, as if they will be one group. They will be presented before your Lord in rows, meaning in an organized fashion, not haphazardly. لَقَدْ جِئْتُمُونَا كَمَا خَلَقْنَاكُمْ أَوَّلَ مَرَّةٍ, and He will say, meaning Allah will say, you have certainly come to us just as we created you the first time. بَلْ زَعَمْتُمْ أَلَّن نَجْعَلَ لَكُمْ مَوْعِدًا, but you claimed, you referring to the people who are in denial about the resurrection, you claimed that we would never make for you an appointment, meaning that you assumed you would never be resurrected. When it comes to the seriousness of resurrection and accountability, it's very important that we remind ourselves of the reality of this resurrection and accountability. It's important that we are fearful of this time. It's also important at the same time that we have hope in Allah's mercy. We learn that Safwan ibn Muhriz, he reports that a person said to Abdullah ibn Umar, how did you hear Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam saying something about the intimate conversation? So he said, I heard him say, a believer will be brought to his Lord on the day of resurrection, and He would place upon him His veil of light and make him confess his faults. and say, do you recognize your faults? So this person would say, my Lord, I do recognize them. And so then Allah would say, فَإِنِّي قَدْ سَتَرْتُهَا عَلَيْكَ فِي الدُّنْيَا. I conceal them for you in the dunya. وَإِنِّي أَغْفِرُهَا لَكَ الْيَوْمِ. And today I forgive you. I forgive you. I conceal these faults, these misdeeds for you in the dunya, and today I forgive you. And then this person would be given the book of deeds containing the account of his good deeds. And as for the disbelievers and the hypocrites, there would be a general announcement about them before all creation, telling them that these people, meaning the disbelievers and the hypocrites, were lying about Allah. So some kind of a public announcement is going to be made with regards to who? The disbelievers and the hypocrites. This is a very serious matter. We need to ask ourselves in light of this hadith that, when we are from time to time reminded of our own shortcomings, our misdeeds, do we recognize them? Do we also accept them? And do we promptly seek forgiveness from Allah for them? What's our approach? Or is it that we're sadly too busy looking at other people's mistakes, other people's faults, their deficiencies, and projecting them too much, such that we forget about our own misdeeds? What is our state? What is our condition? And then after this, there is mention of the book of deeds. وَوُضِعَ الْكِتَابِ, and the record of deeds, the book of deeds will be placed open. فَتَرَى الْمُجْرِمِينَ مُشْفِقِينَ مِمَّا فِيهِ, and you will see the criminals, the sinners, the culprits, the guilty ones, those who used to be in denial about their own mistakes. But yes, they would sometimes focus too heavily on other people's mistakes. You will see the criminals fearful of that within it, meaning what is written in the book of deeds. وَيَقُولُونَ يَا وَيْلَتَنَا, and they will say, oh woe to us, مَا لِهَذَا الْكِتَابِ لَا يُغَادِرُ صَغِيرَةً وَلَا كَبِيرَةً إِلَّا أَحْصَاهَا. What is this book that leaves nothing small or great except that it has enumerated it? Everything is documented. وَوَجَدُوا مَا عَمِلُوا حَاضِرًا, and they will find what they did present before them as a playback that they will not be able to deny. And also they will receive the recompense, the due recompense for what it is that they have done. And as we learned yesterday also, in Surah Ali Imran verse 30, Allah mentions, يَوْمَ تَجِدُ كُلُّ نَفْسٍ مَا عَمِلَتْ مِنْ خَيْرٍ مُحْضَرًا. On the day when every person will be confronted with all that he has done. It's going to all be presented. No denial. And as we learned yesterday also, when it comes to usurping people's properties, taking advantage of people, consuming the wealth of the orphan unjustly, there are serious consequences that come with such practices. So in Surah An-Nisa verse 10, we learn, إِنَّ الَّذِينَ يَأْكُلُونَ أَمْوَالَ الْيَتَامَى ظُلْمًا. Indeed, those who devour the wealth of orphans unjustly, إِنَّمَا يَأْكُلُونَ فِي بُطُونِهِمْ نَارًا. They're actually taking into their bellies fire. And they will be burnt in the blaze. So meaning they're going to meet the jaza of their wrong practices. And then here at the end of verse number 49, Allah mentions, وَلَا يَظْلِمُ رَبُّكَ أَحَدًا. And your Lord does injustice to no one. Your Lord does injustice to no one. Allah does not do any zulm in this worldly realm upon anyone, and He doesn't do any zulm in the hereafter. The reflection question for this lesson is, my book of deeds will include everything big and small. What are some of the little actions I do that I consider to be harmless? Are they really harmless, those little actions? Action points: think of any important role that you have in life. Keeping this role in mind, make a list of al-baqiyat al-salihat. What are the enduring good deeds that you should be focusing on with regards to this important role that you've been blessed with in this dunya? Ask yourself, what daily deeds can you include in this list to improve the quality and the quantity of what is noted daily in your book of deeds? Okay, take a minute to discuss amongst yourselves what you've learned from these verses, and we'll hear a few reflections before we continue. Okay, let's hear some reflections. What did you understand? What did you reflect upon? Who would like to share? Let's hear at least one or two reflections. You must have discussed something, right? Okay, where's the mic?
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu.
I was just thinking about the hadith that you just mentioned about the intimate conversation that Allah Azza wa Jalla will have with His believer. Yesterday and today, it just makes you feel so grateful to be a Muslimah, mu'minah. And like how the whole kind of like what we've been learning through the surah and also Surah Al-Isra is gratitude. And I guess one of the biggest blessings is that we were born Muslims and that we have access to the Qur'an and understanding this, because the greatest humiliation for everybody will be on that day, because it's like, we get embarrassed sometimes in this life, but it's only like in front of a couple people, sometimes in front of our family, but over there it will be in front of everybody, those and all creation, and to be protected from that as well, to be forgiven even after on the day of account. SubhanAllah, it's amazing.
Yeah. How seriously do we take this day? How careful are we about this matter? When it comes to our image, many of us are very conscious about our images, our public images, how people perceive of us, right? What about the Day of Judgment? Are we concerned in terms of what our image will be that day? What our state will be? Okay, yes, what else? Inza.
I think oftentimes when we're doing whatever we're doing or just going about our lives, the thought of being held accountable doesn't really pass us as often as it probably should, let alone that. But the next, I guess, the higher degree of like all of your deeds being presented to you in a book form is like even further, and that's like something that's perhaps unfathomable for majority of us. And we can often like turn to like the tyrants of this world and be like, don't they have any fear of God, that like, you know, they're going to be held accountable for what they're doing. But I don't think we ourselves think about it, even like in our context, the intentionality that we do our deeds with, and with the sincerity or the lack thereof. And it's so interesting in that I don't think we actually understand what it will look like. Like, for example, if someone like nicks the car beside them while opening the door, they'll probably just like rub it off and just walk away. But something as small as that, you're gonna see it.
Yeah.
And I don't think, I mean, for myself, I'm not ready to answer it, you know? Like, be able to see that and then talk about it.
Yeah. And even when it comes to little good deeds, we neglect those also. Right? So even if it is that, you know, you are able to do something small to help someone, open the door for them, carry something for them. You're in the parking lot, you enter in with another car, you can tell that this is perhaps an older person than you who's driving the car. You give them a parking spot. You move on to a further one. Little deeds. Are we mindful of them? Everything is going to be recorded in the book of deeds. The good and the bad, right? So are we actively racing ahead towards good deeds? Grabbing every big and small opportunity? What are we doing? And many a times we have many opportunities open in front of us to do good, big and small. But we neglect, right? Because our approach is what? If not this one, the next one. But who's guaranteed the next one? No one, right? Also think about how from the beginning of the surah we were reminded of course, fitan in general, trials, that Dajjal will bring with him many trials, right? And we learned about Ashabul Kahf. What they did, what they said, recorded in the books of deeds for them. And what the tyrannical king at their time did, recorded in his books, in his book of deeds. When it comes to the man with the 2 gardens and his companion, what the companion said and did, recorded in the book of deeds. And what this man said, the one with the 2 gardens, recorded in the book of deeds. So we're being reminded here again and again, pay attention to what it is that you're doing. Because what you're doing, what you're saying comes with consequences. Okay, let's move on to the next lesson. Lesson number 153. Surah al-Kahf, verses 60 to 82. Now in this next set of verses, we learn about another test. Okay, so we learned already about the test related to faith or iman or religion in the story of Ashabul Kahf, right? We also learned about the test of wealth, right? From the story of the man with 2 gardens. And here we're learning about a third test, and that is the test that comes with knowledge. So here we find mention of the story of Musa alayhi salam's encounter with Khadir. And also keep in mind that Khadir was the title of a person, not his name. And in fact, his name is pronounced many different ways. You will find the pronunciation Khidr and also Khadir and others also. It is said that there are about 10 different pronunciations of his title. Okay. And of course, the term Khadir means green. Okay. Now, there are 2 major opinions about him. One is that he was amongst the awliya of Allah, those who are close to Allah, meaning he was a righteous individual. Now, amongst those who hold this opinion, there are some groups that say that he's actually still alive. Okay, and it teaches some special kind of knowledge to people. And this is, of course, a mystical group that claims this. There is no evidence of this from the Qur'an and Sunnah. Okay. And also keep in mind the rank of a Nabi, a prophet, is higher than a wali of Allah. A wali of Allah doesn't end up knowing more than a prophet, because a prophet receives divine revelation. Now, the other opinion about Khidr, and this is the opinion of Ibn Taymiyyah as well as Ibn Kathir, that he was actually a prophet sent to another nation, meaning he wasn't from the Bani Israel. And he, like others, meaning other prophets, had a specialty. So he was sort of like a fellow prophet for Musa alayhi salam. Now, why Musa alayhi salam met al-Khidr? For this we find, several reasons. We do find a brief account also in Sahih al-Bukhari, where it is mentioned that Sa'id ibn Jubayr, he said, I said to Abdullah ibn Abbas, Nawf al-Bikali claims that Musa, the companion of Khidr, was not the Musa of the Bani Israel. So Ibn Abbas, he said, the enemy of Allah has told a lie. Ubay ibn Ka'b narrated that he heard Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam say, Musa got up to deliver a speech before the Bani Israel. And he was asked, who is the most learned person among the people? So Musa alayhi salam replied, I am. Why did he say this? Because he was the messenger of that time. So Allah rebuked him because he did not refer the knowledge to Allah. He didn't say Allah knows best. Okay? Because the reality is, وَفَوْقَ كُلِّ ذِي عِلْمٍ عَلِيمٍ. Above every possessor of knowledge, there is someone who is more knowledgeable. Okay? So Allah revealed to him that at the junction of the two seas, there is a servant of ours who is more learned than you. So Musa alayhi salam, he asked, oh my Lord, how can I meet him? We learn a lot from his response at this time, from the response of Musa alayhi salam. He could have said many things. He could have said, for example, how come there's somebody more knowledge than me? I'm the prophet. But look at his humility. Oh my Lord, how can I meet him? Look at how eager he is for knowledge. He doesn't argue, he doesn't complain. So Allah said to him, take a fish and put it in a vessel and then set out. And where you lose the fish, you will find him. So Musa alayhi salam took a fish, put it in a vessel and set out along with his servant Yusha' ibn Nun. And he was from the descendants of Yusuf alayhi salam. And he was serving Musa alayhi salam not for any material benefits, right? He was serving him as a token of gratitude. He was a believer. Musa alayhi salam was his teacher, and he was also the prophet of that time. So he had the privilege of traveling with Musa alayhi salam. Remember, Yusha' ibn Nun is also going to be granted prophethood later on. This was his training. Okay. So he set out with Yusha' ibn Nun till they reached a rock on which they both lay down their heads and they slept. The fish moved vigorously in the vessel and got out of it and fell into the sea. And there it took its way through the sea straight as in a tunnel. So Allah stopped the flow of water on both sides of the way created by the fish. And so that way was like a tunnel. And Yusha saw this because he was awake. When Musa alayhi salam got up, his companion, Yusha, forgot to tell him about the fish. And so they carried on their journey during the rest of the day and the whole night. The next morning, Musa alayhi salam said to his servant, Yusha, bring us our morning meal. We have suffered much fatigue in this journey of ours. Musa alayhi salam did not get tired until he had passed the place that Allah had ordered him to look for. So his servant, Yushar, then said to him, "Do you remember when we betook ourselves to the rock, I indeed forgot the fish? None but Shaitan made me forget to remember it. It took its course into the sea in a strange way." So there was a tunnel for this fish that had been created in the water. And Musa alayhi salam and his servant Yushar were amazed. Musa alayhi salam said, "This is what we were searching for. This is what we were seeking." So they went back, retracing their footsteps until they reached the rock. There they found a man covered with a garment. Musa alayhi salam greeted him. And this man was, of course, Khadir. So Khadir, he said, "Is there such a greeting in your land?" So Musa alayhi salam said, "I am Musa." He said, "Are you the Musa of the Bani Israel?" So Musa alayhi salam said, "Yes." And added, "I have come to you so that you may teach me something of that knowledge which you have been taught." So Khadir said, "You will not be able to have patience with me. O Musa, I have some of Allah's knowledge which He has bestowed upon me, but you do not know it. And you too have some of Allah's knowledge which He has bestowed upon you, but I don't know it." Musa alayhi salam, he said, "If Allah wills, you will find me patient. And I will not disobey you in anything at all." Khadir said to him, "Then if you follow me, ask me not about anything till I myself mention it to you." So they set out walking along the shore until a boat passed by, and they asked the crew to let them go on board. The crew recognized Khadir and allowed them to go on board free of charge. When they went on board, suddenly Musa alayhi salam saw that Khadir had pulled out one of the planks of the ship with a tool. Musa alayhi salam said to him, "These people gave us a free ride, yet you have broken their boat so that its people will drown. Verily, you've done a terrible thing." Khadir said, "Did I not tell you that you would not be able to have patience with me?" Musa alayhi salam said, "Call me not to account for what I forgot, and be not hard upon me for my affair with you." Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, he said, in the first instance, Musa alayhi salam asked Khadir because he had forgotten his promise. Which promise? To be patient and to not ask about anything until he's told. Then a bird came and sat on the edge of the boat, dipping its beak once or twice in the sea. Khadir said to Musa alayhi salam, "My knowledge and your knowledge in comparison to Allah's knowledge is like what this bird has taken out of the sea." Again, think about the humility of the real possessors of knowledge. This is the humility of the real possessors of knowledge. Then they both disembarked from the boat. And while they were walking on the shore, Khadir saw a boy playing with other boys. Khadir took hold of the boy's head and pulled it off with his hands, killing him. Musa alayhi salam said to him, "Have you killed an innocent person who had killed none? Verily, you have committed a thing that is terrible." He said, "Did I not tell you that you would not be able to have patience with me?" The narrator, he said, the second blame was stronger than the first one. Musa alayhi salam, he said, "If I ask you anything after this, keep me not in your company. You have received an excuse from me." Then they both proceeded until they came to a people of a town. They asked them for food, but these people refused to entertain them. Then they found that there was a wall on the verge of collapsing, on the point of falling down. So Khadir set it up straight with his own hands. Musa alayhi salam said, "We came to these people, but they neither fed us nor received us as guests. If you had wished, surely you could have taken wages for this service of putting up the wall." Khadir said, "This is the parting between you and I. I will tell you the interpretation of those things over which you were unable to be patient." Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "We wish that Musa was patient so that Allah would have told us more about both of them," meaning Musa and Khadir. But we learned that Musa alayhi salam, when he found out that there was someone who had more knowledge than him, was so eager to go and respectfully gain knowledge from him. He wanted to meet Khadir because he wanted more knowledge. And so out of his keen desire to gain more knowledge, he set out on this journey. وَإِذْ قَالَ مُوسَى لِفَتَاهُ, and mentioned when Musa said to his servant, لَا أَبْرَحُ حَتَّى أَبْلُغَ مَجْمَعَ الْبَحْرَيْنِ أَوْ أَمْضِيَ حُقُبًا, I will not cease until I reach the junction of the two seas or continue for a long period. وَإِذْ قَالَ مُوسَى, and mentioned when Musa said. Which Musa is this? The Musa of Bani Israel. The prophet amongst the Bani Israel. Musa ibn Imran. Mentioned when Musa said, in order to prepare his servant, telling him about his mission, by way of saying, are you ready to undertake this journey with me? Mentioned when Musa said to his servant, his fata, and the term fata is used for a young person. It's figuratively used for a ghulam or khadim. It's also used for a slave or a servant. And fata being used for a young person, meaning a person who is energetic, ready to serve. And this is, of course, referring to Yusha' ibn Nun. Mentioned when Musa said to his servant, La abrahu, I will not cease, hatta abulugha majma' al-bahrain, until I reach the junction of the two seas, the place where the two seas meet. And it is said that this is the junction of the Red Sea and the Mediterranean Sea. This junction was the appointed place for Musa alayhi salam to meet Khadir. The term abarahu from baraha. Barahun means to leave or depart. And when a word of negation like la comes before it, the verb bariha means to continue and to not cease. So the expression bariha al-makan aw min al-makan means to move from a place, to leave from a place. And so when the term bariha or baraha is coming after a word of negation, like la or lan, it means to never stop doing something. So the expression ma bariha ghaniyan, ma is a word used for negation. It means he remained rich, meaning he never stopped being rich. Okay? Or the expression la abrahu af'alu dhalik means I will always do such and such. I will always do that. I will not stop doing that. I will never cease. And la abrahu usiru, meaning I will never stop my journey. I will go on traveling. So, mention when Musa said to his servant, La abrahu hatta ablugha majma' al-bahrain. I will not cease until I reach the junction of the two seas. And the term majma' from jim mim ain, jam'un means to gather or join, and majma' is a place of joining, referring to the junction of the two seas, where the waters meet. Aw amdiya huquba, or continue for a long period. The term amdiya from mim dad ya, mudi means to keep going. Madi is used for the past tense. So amdiya means I'll go on. So he's saying either I'm going to reach that destination, that point, and find the one I'm looking for, and if I'm not going to continue in my journey, I will go on traveling until I pass years and years and years. I will go on traveling until I find what it is that I'm looking for. And the term huquba from ha qaf ba, the singular is huqbah. And the term Haqiba is used for a suitcase or a leather bag. So this word, huquba, is used for long periods of time. Long periods of time. And the plural of huqub would be ahqab, which is an unspecified long period of time. Some say it is used for 70 to 80 years. Some say even longer. So he's saying, even if I have to travel for a very, very long time, I'll go on traveling. So he's describing his determination in his journey two ways. He's saying, I'll never end my journey. Even if it takes a very long time, I'll keep going until I find what I'm looking for. And which kind of a journey is this? A journey to gain knowledge. So we learn many lessons from this about the etiquette of seeking knowledge. Number one, desire to continue learning and gaining knowledge, even if it is that you do have some knowledge. Musa alayhi salam was a prophet, meaning he did have knowledge. But when he was informed that someone else had more knowledge, he wanted to learn more. Musa alayhi salam was also in a leadership position, right? Leading the Bani Israel as a prophet. He had lots of important work to do. Leading the Bani Israel was also not very easy. But still he takes out time to do what? Gain more knowledge. And this is why when we learn about many of the Sahaba and their zeal to learn, it's very motivating. So for example, Abdullah ibn Mas'ud, he says about himself, by Allah, other than whom none has the right to be worshipped, there is no surah revealed in Allah's book, but I know at what place it was revealed. And there is no verse revealed in Allah's book, but I know about whom it was revealed. And if I know that there is somebody who knows Allah's book better than I, and he is at a place that camels can reach, I will go to him. Do we have this kind of eagerness to learn? Then also we learn out here about the importance of traveling في طلب العلم. رحلة في طلب العلم. Even amongst the Sahaba who had learned what they had learned of Deen from Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, who had directly studied from him, taken from him beneficial knowledge, they would travel a month journey to learn one hadith. Right? So the journey of knowledge is never ending. Then also we learn here about determination, about the importance of not giving up. So continue in your quest for knowledge. Don't give up. And it could be that from time to time in your life, the pace with which it is that you are striving changes, but don't give up completely. Okay? And also never tire of the length of the journey of knowledge. Even if it takes years and years. Even if it is that, memorization of the Qur'an takes you a long time, continue. Don't give up. Invest your time. And for some people, memorization is easier, and for other people, it's not as easy. Slow and steady, move in the right direction. Then also we learn from this, a student can accompany his teacher in order to serve the teacher. Because in the company of the teacher, there is much to gain. Even through casual conversations and interactions, there's much to gain. And so from this, we also learn the relationship between the teacher and the student should be beyond just the classroom. And we, of course, learn this from the example of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam as well. He would teach the Sahaba within a formal setting also, in gatherings where he would teach, right, within the masjid at times as well. But then he would teach them outside of the masjid as well. فَلَمَّا بَلَغَا مَجْمَعَ بَيْنِهِمَا نَسِيَا حُوتَهُمَا. But when they, meaning Musa and Yusha, reached the junction between them, the point where the two seas met, they forgot their fish. فَاتَّخَذَ سَبِيلَهُ فِي الْبَحْرِ سَرَبًا, and it took its course into the sea, slipping away. So something unusual happened. The term nasiya from nun sin ya. Nisyan means to forget something. And the term hut from ha waw ta, it's a generic term used for a fish. Because this fish was a sign. Wherever it leaves the basket and jumps into the sea, then that is a sign that you've reached the right place. Qadr will be found there. But they forgot about it. It slipped their minds. So Yusha, first of all, forgot to mention to Musa alayhi salam what he saw. And Musa alayhi salam also forgot to ask him. And actually this was the forgetfulness of Yusha. But when a group of people are involved in the same action or are together in one state, then the action or word of one of them is attributed to all of them. So they forgot to basically check in on the fish and see whether it's in the vessel or outside of the vessel, where it is. And this fish was in a vessel or in some kind of a basket. And both Musa alayhi salam and Yusha ate of it. But when they reached this place, they rested and the fish escaped. So this was something very unusual. فَاتَّخَذَ سَبِيلَهُ فِي الْبَحْرِ سَرَبًا, and it, meaning the fish, took its course into the sea, slipping away. And this was from the ayat of Allah, from the signs of Allah. Allah shows us here in this dunya that He has created many amazing signs through which we are to recognize His power and His might. We're not to get caught up only in those signs. Those signs are there to direct us towards Him, towards Allah's power, His wisdom, which is perfect. Okay, so inshallah it's time for us to take a break. Inshallah we will head towards Fiqh al-Qulub class now. And when we resume in the afternoon, inshallah, we will continue from verse number 61. Okay? سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.